The screech of tires, the shattering of glass, and then nothing. I woke up to the sterile white of a hospital room and a searing pain in my leg. The diagnosis was grim, a severe accident that would confine me to a wheelchair for the foreseeable future. In the week I spent laid up, my wife, Jenna, never once came to see me. Her calls were brief, filled with vague excuses about being too busy to get away. I found out why when I discharged myself and wheeled my way back into my own home. The answer was sprawled on my sofa. My wife, Jenna, draped in a flimsy silk nightgown, was nestled in the arms of another man, Victor Thorne. I froze in the shadows of the hallway, a ghost in my own house, and listened. They were discussing how to transfer my assets, making plans to abandon the cripple I had become. Then, they were kissing, a long, passionate kiss that made my stomach churn. My daughter, Annie, came skipping into the room. "Uncle Victor, I want a kiss too," she chirped, pouting playfully. "You can't only kiss Mommy." Victor laughed and pulled her into their embrace. The three of them, wrapped together on my sofa, looked like a perfect family. My heart turned to ash. This family, this life. I didn't want it anymore. Jenna fed Victor a grape from the bowl on the coffee table. Is it sweet?" she purred. "Not as sweet as you," he murmured, his voice thick with desire. He pinched her cheek, and she giggled, a sound I once found endearing. "Are you sure we don't need to check on him?" Victor asked, a flicker of something, not concern, but perhaps caution, in his eyes. "Forget him," Jenna scoffed. "Who wants to play nursemaid to a cripple? This accident was a blessing in disguise. I was so sick of him anyway." They coiled around each other like contented snakes. "No one can get in our way now," Victor whispered. My fists clenched so tightly my knuckles ached. They thought I was paralyzed, and she couldn't wait to leap into another man's arms. They began to strategize, mapping out how to liquidate my portfolio and move my property into her name, after which they'd dump me in a long-term care facility to rot. "You're such a clever little thing," Victor said, kissing her again. "God, I love you." Jenna's final comment was the nail in the coffin of the man I used to be. "It would have been so much easier if he'd just died on impact," she said, her voice laced with a venom that chilled me to the bone. "Then I could have inherited everything outright." Just then, Annie ran in, demanding her kiss. She had always refused any physical affection from me. If I tried to hug her after work, she'd shove me away, whining, "Daddy, you smell funny, don't touch me." A kiss was out of the question. Jenna always brushed it off, saying Annie was a clean freak, just like her. Now I saw her cleanliness was selective. Victor scooped Annie up, and she planted a wet kiss on his cheek before calling him Daddy Victor. He beamed, answering her with a cheerful, "Yes, sweetie." Rage, pure and hot, flooded my veins. He was wearing my silk robe, lounging in my home, holding my wife and child. But it was Jenna I hated most. How could she betray me like this? In my bag, still slung over my shoulder, was the gift I'd brought back for her from my business trip. A designer handbag she'd been coveting for months, its $3,000 price tag equivalent to my entire monthly salary. Jenna came from nothing. I had promised her she'd never want for anything again. Our walk-in closet was a testament to that promise, overflowing with her clothes and bags, while my own wardrobe barely filled half a rack. She had only settled for me, the dependable provider, after her ex-boyfriend knocked her up and then abandoned her, destroying her reputation in our small town. I was the one who took her to the clinic, nursed her through her recovery, and hid the whole affair from my family. Friends had warned me, but I was blind. I believed in the goodness I wanted to see in her. Now, my eyes were wide open. I left as silently as I had arrived. They wanted to play a game? Fine. If they thought I was paralyzed, I would play the part. I went to a department store and bought a top-of-the-line wheelchair. I waited in the parking lot below our third-floor apartment, the sound of their laughter drifting down from the open window, each peal a dull thud against my heart. Jenna called, but I ignored it. A minute later, a text popped up. "Hubby, make sure you take good care of yourself at the hospital. XO." I let out a bitter laugh. A sudden pang of conscience? No, just a flicker of guilt while she was cozying up with her lover. Victor stayed for hours. I watched their silhouettes, moving about the apartment, cooking dinner, baking a cake, hanging laundry on the balcony. In 7 years of marriage, Jenna had never once done any of those things with me. Only after Victor's car finally pulled away did I wheel myself towards the elevator. When I reached my front door, it swung open before I could even find my keys. "I knew you'd be back," Victor said, standing in the doorway. "You forgot your belt." He froze. Jenna, standing behind him, went pale. Her smile dissolved, her eyes widening in shock. Leo, what are you doing here? Is that Daddy Victor? Annie's excited voice rang out from the living room. Can he stay and play with me tonight? Jenna quickly clamped a hand over our daughter's mouth. Seeing me, Annie's face fell. The disgust in her eyes was unmistakable. She didn't even say hello before turning and stomping back to her room. Why are you back so suddenly? Jenna stammered, avoiding my eyes. You should have called. I would have come to get you. Who's Daddy Victor? I asked, my voice flat. And whose belt is that in your hand? She flinched, immediately changing the subject. A neighbor saw my state and helped me get the wheelchair over the threshold, clucking with sympathy. Jenna, my own wife, didn't offer so much as a word of concern. Where's the bag I wanted? She demanded, her tone sharp with annoyance. You didn't forget to buy it, did you? See, the only person she truly cared about was herself. I'm paralyzed, Jenna, I said, letting the words hang in the air. It took a moment for it to sink in. Then, her face hardened. What about your job? Can you still work? How much compensation is the company giving you? Her voice grew frantic. I told you to buy? Disability insurance. Now look at you, no safety net. Annie is starting school. Her lessons are expensive. We have a lifestyle to maintain. How are you going to support us if you can't work? She leaned in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Don't tell me, she said, her eyes flicking down to my lap, that you can't get it up anymore either? The humiliation was a physical blow. As her hand reached for my trousers, I spun the wheelchair away. Leo, you're not expecting me to live like a nun, are you? She cried out behind me, her voice filled with theatrical despair. I knew what she wanted. She wanted a divorce. She was counting on my love for her, certain that now I was a burden. I would do the noble thing and let her go. The old me might have, but the man she had created was not so generous. This game was just getting started. Annie appeared at my side, a rare occurrence. Daddy, can you take me to the amusement park tomorrow? This was new. She never wanted me at her activities. Daddy's legs don't work anymore, I told her gently. I can't stand up. Not a flicker of sympathy crossed her face. Then can Uncle Victor take me? Annie's been looking forward to this for ages, Jenna chimed in smoothly. We were hoping you'd take her when you got back from your trip. But with your leg, and tomorrow is her birthday. Using our daughter as a shield for her affair. Disgusting. Of course, I said, my voice empty. Go have fun. Since Daddy didn't get you a birthday present this year, you should let Uncle Victor make it up to you. At the mention of no gift, Annie let out a disappointed sigh and flounced off. Daddy Victor is nicer anyway, I heard her mutter. I wish he was my real daddy. I wheeled myself to my study and locked away the necklace I had commissioned for her. A one-of-a-kind piece I had helped design, crafted with the finest gems, a gift 6 months in the making. She didn't deserve it. Later, I asked Jenna to help me bathe. She wrinkled her nose in disgust. Can't you wait a few more days? I'll hire a caregiver, she whined, fanning her hand in front of her face. How long has it been since you showered? Besides, I just had my nails done. What if I chip one of the diamonds? I glanced at her perfect, glittering acrylic nails. I noticed she had a new hairstyle, too, soft waves framing her face. While I was suffering in the hospital, she had been pampering herself, without a shred of guilt. Eventually, she relented, scrubbing my body with rough, impatient strokes, leaving my old clothes on the bed for me. Her sharp nails scraped my skin, drawing blood. I remembered when she gave birth to Annie. I had been the one at the hospital, cleaning her, helping her with everything, never once complaining. The countless times I'd driven across town in the middle of a storm to get her a specific craving. All of it, a one-sided devotion. A few days later, my in-laws arrived. It wasn't a social call. They were here to mediate the separation of assets. I must have had the worst luck to marry him. I overheard Jenna complaining to them in the kitchen. I'm definitely divorcing him. I'm not wasting my life taking care of a cripple. If he hadn't been such a pathetic lapdog, I never would have stooped to marrying him in the first place. My in-laws were in full agreement. Before you divorce him, my mother-in-law advised, make sure he signs the villa over to you. And that commercial property, that should be transferred to my name. Exactly, my father-in-law added. You can't have wasted all these years with him for nothing. A bitter smile touched my lips. The villa and the shop. I had already drawn up the papers to gift those properties to them. All that was left was the final transfer. They were sharpening the knives to butcher the fattened pig. Later, thirsty, I asked Annie to get me a glass of water. Can you just not bother me? You're so annoying, she snapped, turning up the volume on her cartoon. A small teddy bear sat on the sofa beside her. I reached out to touch it, and she shrieked, "Don't touch my stuff. It was a birthday present. I sleep with him every night. What if you get him dirty?" The present, of course, was from Victor. I had bought her gifts that could have paid for 1,000 such bears, none of which she had ever treasured. It wasn't about the value, it was about the giver. A sudden, urgent need to use the bathroom hit me. Lately, I had been using adult diapers, which Jenna changed grudgingly. I had been making her do everything, feeding me, massaging my legs, washing my feet. She complied only because I had promised to sign the power of attorney that would allow her to take possession of the properties. I told her my diaper was leaking. "It's fine," she said dismissively. "Just hold on until the caregiver gets here in the morning." Then she went to the balcony to coo into her phone with Victor. I couldn't hold it. She had been pushing fluids on me all day, probably on purpose. "Jenna," I called out. "I need to talk to you about the transfer papers." That got her attention. She rushed back in. I told her to change my diaper first. With a long-suffering sigh, she pulled down my pants. Before she could secure the new one, it happened. A hot, unstoppable stream erupted, hitting her square in the face. She screamed. The yellow liquid dripped from her hair, down her neck, and soaked into her expensive blouse. "Leo, you are disgusting," she shrieked. It was an accident, I swear, but I couldn't deny the savage satisfaction that bloomed in my chest. "That's it. Divorce. We're getting a divorce tomorrow. I can't live like this for one more second," she raged. "No one will take care of you. You can spend the rest of your miserable life wallowing in your own filth. I'm going to file the transfer papers tomorrow. You've already signed the authorization." She grabbed my wallet and bank cards from the nightstand, snatched Annie's hand, and stormed out. The moment the door slammed shut, I stood up, walked to the window, and lit a cigarette. Jenna was about to find out she was getting nothing. She would be back. The final act was about to begin. The next day, she returned, her parents in tow, her face a mask of fury. "Leo, what is the meaning of this?" she demanded. "Why is the $1 million in your bank account in a fixed-term deposit? Why? Have the locks on the villa been changed? And the properties are no longer in your name. They're in your father's. You played me. A gift can be revoked. A legal loophole they were too greedy to consider. You owe our Jenna an explanation," my father-in-law boomed, taking a threatening step towards me. We were on the 18th floor. It would be so easy for a helpless cripple to have an accidental fall. "I'm taking you to court," Jenna screamed. "I'll sue you for everything. The villa, the shop, I want it all." "Those are my personal assets, Jenna," I said calmly. "In 7 years, you ate my food and lived in my house. You never worked, never contributed a single penny. What right do you have to any of it? I have a divorce agreement right here. If you sign it now, maybe I'll give you some living expenses." The mention of divorce stunned her. It was always her weapon, not mine. What did you say?" Her parents' demeanor instantly softened. Now, let's all calm down. No need to talk about divorce." I rose from the wheelchair. They stared, their mouths agape. A second later, Jenna dropped to her knees in front of me. "Leo," she sobbed. "I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Life is a theater of the absurd. One moment, they wanted to skin me alive. The next, I was their precious treasure. Oh, thank goodness, his leg is healed." My mother-in-law wept with joy. "It's a medical miracle. And it's all thanks to Jenna, looking after you for this past month. See how good she is. Now that you're well, there's no need for a divorce. You're still the son-in-law we love. We're still one big, happy family." Jenna nodded furiously, squeezing out a few tears. "I never thought I'd see you stand again," she whispered, burying her face in my shoulder. "Leo, please forgive me. Let's go back to how things were." This was her go-to move. I calmly wiped her tears away, and I saw a flicker of triumph in her eyes. But this time, it wouldn't work. "I'm not a fool, Jenna. I know what you've done." I tossed the divorce papers onto her lap. "This marriage is over." She stiffened, a brief flash of panic in her eyes. Then, a look of dawning realization, followed by rage. "So you were faking it," she hissed. "You were never paralyzed. This was all a show to get rid of me. Well, you tell me, what could I have possibly done to you? Where's your proof?" She then launched into a tirade, accusing me of having an affair. She claimed she'd smelled another woman's perfume on me, found lipstick on my shirts, a stray piece of lingerie in my car. Her parents immediately joined in, my mother-in-law, a seasoned brawler, grabbing a handful of my hair and scratching at my face while my father-in-law punched me in the gut. While they assaulted me, Jenna was busy posting a long, rambling story on social media, painting me as a cheating husband trying to abandon his loyal wife. "Enough," I roared, pushing them away. Don't think I don't know about you and Victor Thorne. Jenna's eyes widened in disbelief. How could you possibly know? I was so careful. I threw a stack of photographs onto the coffee table. Pictures of her and Victor, kissing, embracing, leaving a hotel together. If you'd like to admire your figure, I have more explicit ones. Where did you get these? She gasped, her face ashen. Her parents, seeing the evidence, didn't chastise her. They begged me to forgive her. Come on, Leo, be a man, my father-in-law said. Let it go. You and Jenna can have another baby this year. You're still our son-in-law. I laughed at their shamelessness. The divorce is final, and you're not getting a cent. In that case, Jenna sneered, her desperation turning to malice. Don't blame me for what happens next. Your father is up for retirement next year, isn't he? They were going to report him for running an illegal tutoring service and accepting bribes from parents. The tutoring was true, the bribes were a lie. But at his age, an investigation, even a baseless one, would destroy his sterling reputation. They had found my weakness. So, you want a divorce, she said, her voice dripping with triumph. Fine, I'll sign today. But first, you sign over the villa and the shop. Even if I cheated, what can you do? I've always had you wrapped around my little finger. But I had a weakness of my own. You think I can't threaten you? I said, pulling out my phone. I made a video call. A friend of mine answered. He was standing in the lobby of my in-laws' apartment building, holding a large banner. It read, Daughter of residents in APTX, Jenna Miller, is having an affair with a married man, Victor Thorne. My in-laws, who valued their reputation above all else, turned white. I made a second call. Another friend was at Victor's corporate office, holding a similar banner and a stack of flyers. If you don't sign this agreement today, I said, my voice ice cold, I'm not the one who will be disgraced. You want to slander my father? You'd better deal with your own mess first. Jenna raised her hand to slap me. I caught her wrist, and, with a motion that felt both foreign and deeply satisfying, I slapped her back. You dare hit me? She whispered, stunned. I knew she would break. Victor was married. If this scandal blew up, she would lose everything. The next day, we were divorced. Annie, of course, chose to go with her mother. My father will still want to see Annie, I said. Not a chance, Jenna spat. No one from your family will ever see her again. My father adored Annie, his only grandchild. This would crush him. Once a month, I pleaded. She's still a Miller, for God's sake. Jenna sneered. Not for long. She'll be a Thorne next month. Right, Annie? Daddy Victor is your new daddy. Okay, Annie said brightly. Daddy doesn't want mommy anymore, so I'll just get a new daddy. The words were a knife in my heart. I knelt to her level. Annie, don't you remember Grandpa? He loves you so much. Won't you be sad if you can't see him anymore? I'll have a new grandpa too, she said, her little mouth set in a defiant line. You're a bad daddy, and Grandpa is a bad grandpa. I never want to see either of you again. Suddenly, there was a thud behind me. My father had collapsed. He had overheard everything. I rushed to his side. He was weak but conscious. He beckoned for Annie, but she just shook her head, hiding behind her mother. I ordered her to come over, but she threw a tantrum, ripping the jade pendant from her neck. Here, take your stupid stuff back, she screamed, and with all her might, she hurled it to the ground. The jade, a precious heirloom my mother had left for her to keep her safe, shattered. A sharp fragment flew up and sliced my hand. But what was broken was more than just a piece of jewelry. It was the last thread of our family. My father convulsed and passed out. Amid the chaos, Jenna just laughed. At his age, he's better off dead anyway. You should watch what you say, Jenna. Karma has a long memory. She took Annie's hand. A useless man like you is destined to be alone forever, she said, a parting shot over her shoulder. I'm off to live a happy life with the people who truly love me. Goodbye forever, Leo. I hoped the world would give her exactly what she deserved. My father recovered, but a part of him was broken. He would spend hours staring at Annie's photos, collecting her old toys and dresses, muttering about how she used to bring him her little red stars from kindergarten. He refused to believe she was gone for good. She was just led astray by that woman, he'd insist. Jenna kept her word. She transferred Annie to a new school and changed her number. Once, my father went to the school, just hoping to catch a glimpse of his granddaughter. Jenna saw him. Everyone, look, she shrieked to the crowd of parents. It's a child predator. Don't be fooled by his age. He's been stalking my daughter for days. When my father tried to explain, a stranger chimed in. You look suspicious. If you were her grandfather, you wouldn't be lurking around. Annie, prompted by a sharp pinch from her mother, declared, "That man is not my grandfather." They were about to call the police when one of the younger teachers recognized my father and intervened. Jenna had to be stopped. I found out she hadn't married Victor yet. His wife, Grace, was a force to be reckoned with. The day she found out about the affair, she had cornered Jenna in a parking lot and nearly beaten her senseless. I contacted Grace. She was a woman who appreciated direct action. She agreed to help. On a blistering hot day, I took my father back to Annie's school. As we arrived, the show began. Grace strode up to Jenna and delivered a rapid series of slaps before Jenna even knew what was happening. "Help! A crazy woman is attacking me!" Jenna screamed. "You shameless husband stealer!" Grace roared, her voice ringing through the schoolyard. To the onlookers, she yelled, "You want to help her? Be careful she doesn't steal your husband next." Then, a parent spotted my father. "Jenna, protect your daughter. The pervert is back." Grace turned on the crowd. "He's her grandfather, you idiots. This disgusting woman won't let him see his own grandchild. Changed her name, changed her school, and now she's spreading rumors that he's a predator. You want to talk about evil? If you don't apologize to this man right now, I swear I will make your life a living hell." Beaten and dazed, Jenna mumbled an apology. When she saw me standing there, a venomous look crossed her face. "Is that all?" I asked. "You will get on your knees," Grace commanded, pointing to the sun-baked asphalt. "You must be insane," Jenna spat. "I've already apologized." Grace leaned in close. "You want to marry Victor Thorne?" she whispered, her voice low and dangerous. "I'm tired of fighting. You kneel and apologize properly, and I will sign the divorce papers and give him to you." The allure of Victor was still too strong. Jenna knelt before my father and apologized. Then she pulled Annie away. "Come on," she said through gritted teeth. "We're transferring to Daddy Victor's school district." As she walked away, she couldn't resist a final taunt to Grace. "Being a mistress is better than being unloved. He'll never love a shrew like you." Grace's expression was calm, but I saw the moisture in her eyes. Later, over dinner, I found myself drawn to her quiet strength. "You don't think I'm too violent, do you?" she asked. I shook my head. With someone like Jenna, that was the only language she'd understand. We smiled at each other, two survivors of the same shipwreck. 5 months later, Grace and I were married. We moved into the villa, and my father came to live with us. We were two people who had been broken by love, and in each other, we found a quiet understanding, a solace. That blossomed into something more. Soon, Grace was pregnant. My father was overjoyed. Grace was radiant. After years of being shamed by Victor and his family for being barren, she was finally going to be a mother. One afternoon, Victor showed up at our gate, holding a cake. "Grace, I'm sorry," he pleaded into the intercom. "I was a fool. Please, let's start over. I'll take you on that trip you always wanted. We don't need kids, we can adopt." I was the one who went out to meet him. "She's my wife now," I said, gesturing back to the house, where Grace stood on the porch, her hand resting on her swollen belly. Victor's face was a mess of shock, confusion, and humiliation. "You should get yourself checked out at a clinic, Victor," I advised. "It might not be her who has the problem. You too," he stammered. "You were together all along, weren't you? You and Jenna were just a smokescreen." I just laughed. "If it wasn't for you, we never would have met. So, in a way, thank you." I punched him hard in the face. He staggered back, but didn't retaliate, his eyes fixed on Grace, who simply turned and went back inside. A few weeks later, Jenna appeared, with Annie in tow. She looked haggard, her designer clothes replaced by cheap fast fashion. She was demanding a lump sum of $1 million for child support. "What? Your new man isn't treating you well?" I mocked. "Uncle Victor and Mommy aren't married," Annie piped up. "His mean grandma kicked us out." Jenna hissed at her to be quiet. "The money," she said, her voice desperate. "You won't deny your own daughter, will you?" "I send you money every month, Jenna. More than enough. The question is, how much of it does Annie actually see?" She threatened to stay until I paid. Just then, Grace came out from the garden, holding a watering can. Jenna's eyes blazed with a new fury. She knelt and whispered venomously into Annie's ear. "That woman is a witch, Annie. She stole your daddy, and now she's having a baby to steal your house, the house that was supposed to be yours. You were supposed to live like a princess." Annie, her small face contorted with rage, launched herself forward and slammed into Grace's pregnant belly. Grace cried out, stumbling, trying to shield her stomach as she fell. I shoved Jenna aside. Her head hit a decorative rock, and blood started to flow, but I didn't spare her a glance. My world had narrowed to Grace. Are you okay? Does it hurt? My frantic concern seemed to be the final trigger for Jenna. You never cared for me like that, she wailed, a strange, broken sound. Don't you love me anymore, Leo? Because I still love you. I called an ambulance for Grace, then locked the gate, leaving Jenna crumpled on the ground. You love kneeling so much, I said coldly. Stay there. Daddy, don't leave me. Annie cried, grabbing my pant leg. I'll come live with you. I'll be good to Mommy, Grace, and the baby. I shook her off without a word. As I left, I could hear Jenna's laughter, high and unhinged, echoing behind me. Later, I learned she had tried to set the villa on fire. The neighbors called the police, and she was arrested. They said she was a terrifying sight, her head bleeding, laughing and crying, screaming curses that my new family would burn in hell. She had truly gone mad. I sold the villa. I set up a trust to cover Annie's expenses until she was 18. Then, I cut off all contact. My life, my real happiness, was just beginning.